Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 1034 of the Juicebox Podcast. All these months, and I still can't say the word myth with an S at the end, but today is the second to last myth episode, and Jenny and I will be talking about cinnamon. Gets its own little episode, cinnamon. While you're listening, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. If you're looking to support the podcast and help yourself at the same time, CozyEarth.com. Use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% on your towels, your sheets, and your comfortables. Quality stuff at a good price. CozyEarth.com. Then take 40% off and voila, you're wearing great gear on the discount. You can also get yourself some Omnipod products at my podcasty linky linker, omnipod.com/juicebox. Get in there. Get yourself a Dash or an Omnipod 5. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Call the number or go to the link, get your free benefits check, and you're on your way to getting your diabetes supplies the same way we do. From US Med. usmed.com/juicebox. Jenny, we're here doing a myth episode.
Yeah.
And we did, early on in the episode, we did the miracle cures. But we very purposely...
I can only guess.
Yes, we very purposely...
I'm going to guess what this is.
We very purposely, during the miracle cure episode, did not bring up... Go ahead.
Cinnamon?
Cinnamon. Because it deserved its own episode. That's why. Because it deserves its own episode. So let's start off with, why do people so widely believe that cinnamon cures diabetes? Do you have any idea?
Well, and cure there being an interesting word within the whole thing too, because it isn't. In no ways is cinnamon a cure. So that's just a complete single statement. Mm-hmm. Cinnamon is not going to cure any kind of diabetes. However, there are actually a fair number of studies that were done specifically in type 2 diabetes that showed with certain amounts of cinnamon somewhat of a shift in glucose response in the body, somewhat of a shift to more optimal fasting blood sugar levels, etc. So the cruddy thing is that now cinnamon is, it is the cure-all. It's the number one that most people hear about is, I'm just going to take cinnamon. I mean, I don't even know what the tablets are called, but there are cinnamon tablets, and there are probably multiple brands at this point. But years ago, at one of my conventions, they actually had a table
of cinnamon
in the convention hall. The cinnamon product that was like a tablet. Just take the cinnamon tablets along with your meal times. I mean, they had it at a national clinical convention. Mm-hmm. They got a table.
So listen, I don't want to say that there's no benefit from cinnamon. I'm not saying that. But Correct. If I Google cinnamon cure, I get, this is funny, cinnamon cured bacon, which is the only thing. But here you go. Cinnamon cures for high blood pressure, for ulcers, infection, bad breath, toothache, throat pain, headaches, irregular menstruation, arthritis, skin, allergies, and
lipids are usually in there. Cholesterol levels are typically in there too.
These returns do not bring back diabetes. I have to type the D to get to it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So this is a thing that is bandied about so much in the world. that if you ask somebody with type 1, what do people think cures type 1 diabetes? They're going to say cinnamon. Like, everyone has heard that at some point or another. But in a Google search, it does not pop right up.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that threw me off, by the way. I thought it was gonna come up with lights on it at the top, and it wasn't there. But here's a Healthline article: 10 evidence-based health benefits of cinnamon, antioxidants. Let's see.
I mean, it's the bark of a tree, right?
It may have anti-inflammatory properties. Mm-hmm. It could protect against heart disease. It could improve sensitivity to insulin. Okay, here we go. Healthline. Why do you think that? It is essential for transplant. Don't explain insulin to me. I know what it is. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? There's a headline here. Let me be clear. Number 5 on the Healthline 10 things that cinnamon might do list. Number 5. It says could improve sensitivity to insulin. It doesn't make a distinction. Well, here we go. Insulin is one of the key hormones. It explains what insulin is. This is all the text that's here. It's essential for transporting blood sugar from your bloodstream to your cells. However, some people are resistant to the effects of insulin. Mm-hmm. This is known as insulin resistance, a hallmark condition like metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. While more research is needed, some studies suggest that cinnamon may be able to reduce insulin resistance. By increasing insulin sensitivity, cinnamon can lower blood sugar levels and support better blood sugar control. I'm just going to say something, and no offense to Healthline. That doesn't say anything. That's a lot of words that doesn't say anything. Yeah.
And in no way does it, and thankfully it doesn't, in no way does it say anything about it being a cure.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't mention type 1 diabetes either.
No, it doesn't, because the studies there are astounding numbers of type 2 studies. There are not in type 1. And in fact, years ago, I actually did an article for a nutrition publication that was it was supposed to be about the benefits of cinnamon in diabetes management. And honestly, what I uncovered is the fact that there are multiple kinds of cinnamon. Did you know that?
I'm learning that now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the one that we commonly have here in the United States, well, there are 2 of them actually. One of them is called cassia. That's the most common type. Mm-hmm. Also kind of called Saigon cinnamon. And it wasn't actually even made in Saigon. It was just the place.
Perfect name then.
It was a trading post essentially,
right?
Okay. So So it wasn't even produced there. There's nothing grown cinnamon there. It's just a place that it kind of moved through. And then the one that actually is not, and I hate using the word detrimental, but unfortunately, a lot of the studies prove that there is actually an amount of cinnamon that is too much. And cassia cinnamon especially has high concentrations of something called coumarin.
Okay.
Which can be not great for your liver function.
Jenny, right? I was just about to cure my diabetes with cinnamon. Now this.
Right. Like this is that rolling ball that if you sprinkle cinnamon on your toast or your oatmeal or, on your bacon every single morning, fine. Absolutely. You are in no detriment whatsoever, obviously. But the type of cinnamon that, the studies were done with is certainly not a sprinkling. I mean, it's a fair amount of cinnamon in order to be able to show benefit to insulin resistance. Mm-hmm. And the better type of insulin is actually called Ceylon. It's Ceylon. It has a much softer, sweeter, you don't need very much of it. And of course, are there studies using that one? No.
What about this here? I'm still in this Healthline article. I've now scrolled down to number 6. It says, apart from the beneficial effects on insulin resistance, cinnamon can lower blood sugar through several mechanisms. First, cinnamon has been shown to decrease the amount of sugar that enters your bloodstream after a meal. Do
they give you a portion? I mean, not a portion, but a dose.
Well, what they don't say is that
that's the interesting
by how much, right? Like, if I eat something and my blood sugar was going to go up 200 points from it, if I have type 1, but it only goes up 195 points, then I also think that they are very specific. Well, I don't want to use the word specifically. This article is not specifically talking about type 2 diabetes, but I think that's what they're talking about.
I would expect so.
Yeah.
Yes.
It interferes with numerous digestive enzymes, which slows the breakdown of carbs in your digestive tract. So that's how like Ozempic works, right? It slows digestion. So if you could slow digestion, you could spread out the impact. But again, that's not going to help a type 1. I mean, it like a lot. I mean, it might help a little, but it's not going to be any big impact.
It's not going to be a big impact. So I think that's the detriment of saying cure or saying, hey, everybody should use, this whopping amount of cinnamon on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I love cinnamon. I use cinnamon every single day, but I don't take it in tablet form. Right?
Or with the expectation it's going to bring. See, I think here's the problem, right? Like the effective dose here they're talking about is 1 to 6 grams or 1/2 to 2 teaspoons of cinnamon per day. Have you found that getting your diabetes supplies can be a pain in the butt? I have too. But not any longer, because now we're getting Arden's diabetes supplies from US Med. To get a free benefits check, just call 888-721-1514 or go to usmed.com/juicebox. US Med has served over 1 million diabetes customers since 1996. And they want you to know that they're offering you better service and better care than you're getting now. US Med always provides 90 days worth of supplies and fast and free shipping. They carry everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs like the Freestyle Libre 2 and the Dexcom G6. Arden gets her Dexcoms and her Omnipods from US Med. US Med accepts Medicare nationwide and over 800 private insurers. US Med is the #1 distributor for Freestyle Libre systems, the #1 specialty distributor for Omnipod DASH, #1 fastest growing tandem distributor, the #1 rated distributor in Dexcom customer service satisfaction surveys, and they are proud of the white glove treatment that they offer their customers. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. And that 888 number is special just for Juicebox Podcast listeners. Now, if you decide to go to the website, it's super simple. Here's what it tells you when you get there. Getting started is easy. From the comfort of your own home or office, you can now join over 1 million satisfied customers who rely on our staff of courteous, knowledgeable, and trained US Med customer care representatives to keep you up to date with your medical and diabetic supplies delivered right to your door. Super simple benefits check. Name, phone number, email, zip code, and then just hit the button that says request a free benefits check. It's that easy. Let US Med take care of your supplies so you don't have to worry.
That's a lot of cinnamon.
Yeah.
Like if you think about ever cooking with cinnamon, if you make any kind of like banana bread or cookies or whatever, right? The whole recipe, which probably makes 20 servings, includes 1/2 to a full teaspoon.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit down and be like, this teaspoon of cinnamon is really lovely.
I think where the shame of this is, and I'm not just, listen, Healthline's what popped up. There's any number of articles that you could find. I'm not defending Healthline. I'm just saying I'm not coming after them either. But the idea that there's no quantification here. There's no like, look, if your insulin to carb ratio is 1 unit covers 100, lowers you 100 points, and I can say, look, use a unit of insulin, your blood sugar will come down 100 points. Nothing like that is being said here. It's not a teaspoon's going to buy you an A1C of blah, 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 or like, I think is it wouldn't hurt you to eat some cinnamon, but it's
sure. Yeah. In fact, cinnamon is a great additive flavor to something that you might have used something like sugar or extra, you know what I mean? You might have used something that actually isn't as beneficial for your blood sugar control. So if you add in a little bit of a flavor, it's much like using something like, Mrs. Dash instead of salt. Mm-hmm. You add a whole bunch of flavor and it replaces essentially for you. Yeah. So absolutely, there's nothing wrong with using cinnamon.
And I've had a really popular episode of this podcast where somebody talked about like eating foods in certain orders or certain foods and like, things that might help keep your blood sugar from spiking. And I've heard back from a lot of people who've had a lot of success with it. I'm not like poo-pooing it. I'm trying to tell you where I think it all comes from. But I just have to say, like, if you go through this article, it is littered with phrases like may help, could be, has been known to. It's a lot of legal phrasing, which means I ain't promising you anything.
And even if you go to more, not just what are you looking at Healthline, you said, right? So even if you go to some place that's got a bigger name, something like Mayo, right? Yeah. Which is very well known. Their information that you can find also uses those words. So it's not just that it's coming from a source that's collectively looking at something as a potential. It's coming from the fact that nowhere has proven 100% worth and or the specific dose or amount that you should or could use in a safe way that provides this true 100% benefit. So they have to say, it could do this for you. Give it a try. Right. I mean, it could be like... There's no harm in trying. Right. Yeah. There's no harm in trying.
Absolutely. You just have to be careful when you're reading. I mean, there's a sentence here that says widely studied, which makes you go, widely studied. Oh, a lot of people think this. But then the words potential come up afterwards. So potential use. Don't forget, it's been limited to test tubes and animal studies that suggest, like, it's the phrasing's interesting. But it doesn't matter because once it gets into the world, it's cinnamon cures diabetes. And you're like, what the hell? It's insane. All right, ready? Here we go. Cinnamon will cure you. Cinnamon apple cider vinegar. I have heard somebody tell me that cinnamon will cure me so many times, I can't count. I have had colleagues who are scientists tell me that I need to just have cinnamon. It will cure my type 1 diabetes. Have more cinnamon, I was told. That's going to cure it. More cinnamon will get you off of insulin.
Those are the worrisome ones.
See? Jenny, right? This isn't going to stop, by the way. Cinnamon, have it with ginseng. Then it really works. If you just mix that cinnamon with ginseng, now you're on to something. Hold on a second.
Well, why don't you just mix it with your beverage of choice then too, right? Like, throw it all together.
Hold on, ready? I'm literally... I have to eat cinnamon, but I have to drink it with okra water. Let's see, this person, this is one from another episode where they said a foot massage would cure my diabetes. And the woman joked and said, but only if I probably sprinkle cinnamon on my foot first. So many different variations of the cinnamon things. The lady's like, I've heard from so many people that have taken this idea, cinnamon cures it, and then they commingle it with something else. And then they tell what I think Jewish people would call a Bubameister, a big story about it. Just take cinnamon.
I didn't know that word.
You don't know Bubameister? Oh, no. Look at me. My Yiddish. I know just enough to be dangerous. Just take cinnamon and you'll get better. Oh, has it gotten worse? You should increase your cinnamon. That's it. That's the things that people talked about with cinnamon. I just wanted to make sure that cinnamon got its own shout out here because it deserves it.
Because it deserves it.
Yes, it does.
And years ago, like I said, when I did that article, I learned a lot about it, which was interesting to me. And I actually changed the kind of cinnamon that I use because of doing the research, right?
Okay.
I mean, the majority of the research around the type of cinnamon to use, like I said earlier, is the cassia or cassia. I don't know exactly how you say it or pronounce it. And that's the one that actually does have more information about dose being too much at one time and, potentials to that causing problems, especially for those who might already have liver disease, or it may cause issues. Again, I like cinnamon, so I was like, well, I can easily switch to the other kind of cinnamon. It's more expensive, but I actually like the flavor a lot better, and it doesn't carry the same issues.
I think you're also making a point that you're not really coming out and saying, is that if you turn a little screw over here and turn a little screw over here and turn enough little screws, you might actually see a little
difference.
Yeah, a little difference, right? So
exactly,
like cinnamon by the fistful is not going to make your diabetes go away,
right? And nor have I tried. Right? I'm like, I'm going to just try this whole big screw over here, and I'm just going to give it all the cinnamon. I'm not going to take my insulin for the day and see if that works. I mean, clearly, right?
I mean, if I don't know if okra water or I don't know, apple cider
Which I've
vinegar.
never heard that one.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if you got a tiny bit of benefit out of all these things, or if it just made you feel better, like, yeah, right on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not telling anybody not to do anything. And I'm a proponent of taking supplements for things. I take a fair amount of supplements every day, and they have definitely benefited me. The problem with any kind of supplementation, I think, is that it doesn't hit you fast enough for you to be 100% sure that it actually did anything. And
correct.
You have to have this very big view of it. Like, I'm going to take this for weeks or months, and I'm going to see, like, do I feel different now? Like, can I look back and say I feel better now than I did before? If I stop taking it, do I see myself going in the other direction? Like, there's a lot of trial and error that needs to be used.
And I think there's a lot. It's a good point to make, because I think when you start to add any type of supplement in particular, yes, it takes a while for it to start working. And two, to do a true experiment, you have to filter out variables. Mm-hmm. You have to filter out and not really change anything else. Well, maybe if this one supplement that you're taking behind the scenes is making a difference, and so you're feeling better. And so maybe that feeling better means that you can now have enough energy at 6 o'clock in the morning to get out and start taking a walk when before you didn't. You may not put those things together. And so then your health outcome later is it's better. Yeah. But is it because you started taking the supplement, or is it a combination of the supplement started making you feel better and you started taking this daily walk? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe you're just focusing on yourself more, and maybe the ashwagandha is not helping you at all, but maybe it's got you focused on taking better care of yourself. So
correct.
What's the harm? Yeah, yes. I got you. Okay. I think it's a lot of mindset. It really is. I mean, if putting a oh my God, I almost said tablespoon. If putting a little sprinkle of like cinnamon on your food makes you feel like you're doing something, then that might be good for you. Like, don't worry.
Right. Don't worry about it. Go for it. Right.
I take magnesium, vitamin D, zinc. I take ashwagandha every day. I don't know that it helps me or not. I really couldn't begin to tell you. I do feel better now than I ever have. I've also just lost 30 pounds. So maybe it's all, who cares? Like, it's working. So like, I'm moving in the right direction is the way I think of it.
Yes. So you don't have a full on one particular thing evaluation. This is what worked because I didn't change anything else. Yeah. You don't have that.
Right.
So you can say, well, it's all working together. So I'm going to keep it.
And right? I can afford to spend $50 every couple of months on these things, and I'm going in the right direction. So, All right, Jenny, because this is the last episode, I want to thank you very much for doing this with me.
Of course.
I am very excited for the thing we're going to do next, which I don't think we're going to tell people about right here, but I'm super excited about it.
And, I am as well.
Yeah. And a Bubba Meister is a long story or wives' tale that is something a grandma would tell. It's Yiddish for Bubba or grandmother. I asked about the family, and she started in on a Bubba Meister about hospitals. So
interesting. Anyway. Well, thank you for the little information about a word. I had not heard that before. I've heard many words, but I've not heard that one.
I gave a weekend talk at an Orthodox event, and my knowledge of Yiddish was a huge. People loved it. Let's just say.
Expanded.
Yes, I came in and I said, "Am I using this word right?" And they're like, "How do you know that word?" I was like, "Aha, I am."
I did my homework.
All right, hold on 1 second for me.
Awesome.
Well, there's one more myth episode coming next week, but I want to thank Jenny right now for this one. Jennifer is available to you if you'd like to hire her. She works at integrateddiabetes.com. I also want to thank US Med for being a longtime sponsor of the Juicebox Podcast. usmed.com/Juicebox, or call 888-721-1514. Get your free benefits check and get going today with US Med. Of course, US Med is where Arden gets her Dexcom, G7, and her Omnipod DASH from. If you know somebody who has type 2 or prediabetes, keep listening after the music. For the rest of you, thank you so much for listening. I'll be back soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you have type 2 or prediabetes, the Type 2 Diabetes Pro Tip series from the Juicebox Podcast is exactly what you're looking for. Do you have a friend or a family member who is struggling to understand their type 2 and how to manage it? This series is for them. 7 episodes to get you on track and up to speed. Episode 860, Series Intro. 864, Guilt and Shame. Episode 869, Medical Team. 874, Fueling Plan. Episode 880, Diabetes Technology. Episode 885, GLP-1s, metformin, and insulin. And in episode 889, we talk about movement. This episode is with me and Jenny Smith. Of course, you know Jenny is a certified diabetes care and education specialist. She's a registered and licensed dietitian, and Jenny has had type 1 diabetes for over 30 years. Too many people don't understand their type 2 diabetes, and this series aims to fix that. Share it with a friend or get started today.